In 1965, a major shift unfolded in the history of U.S. coinage, and few coins represent that turning point better than the Washington quarter. Before that year, quarters were made of 90% silver, a fact that gave them not just value but a distinct sound and feel. But as silver prices soared and hoarding increased, the U.S. Mint made a critical decision to remove silver from circulating coins. The 1965 Washington quarter was the first of its kind to be struck with a copper-nickel clad composition instead of the traditional silver. The plan was clear: move forward with a new material and put an end to the use of silver in regular coins. However, what followed was an unexpected twist. Despite efforts to fully phase out silver planchets, a small number of 1965 Washington quarters were accidentally struck using the old silver blanks intended for 1964 dated coins. These errors were incredibly rare and entirely unintentional. Yet they slipped into circulation unnoticed, blending in with the millions of other clad coins produced that year. To the average person, the silver version of the 1965 quarter looks nearly identical to its clad counterpart. There's no special marking, no telltale sign unless you know what to look for. But there are differences. The silver quarter is heavier, with a weight close to 6.25 grams, while the clad version comes in at around 5.67 grams. When dropped on a hard surface, the silver one rings with a high-pitched tone, distinct from the duller sound of clad coins. And while clad coins have a copper-colored edge, silver quarters have a uniform silver edge all the way around. These small details can turn an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. That's why collectors have become obsessed with weighing and inspecting their 1965 quarters, because in that sea of metal, one might find a treasure that was never supposed to exist. It's not just about the material either. The existence of a silver 1965 quarter is a historical fluke, a remnant of a changing era, a coin that tells a story of transition and oversight. Some of these coins have surfaced in unexpected places: coin rolls, old collections, or loose change passed through generations. When discovered, they're carefully examined by experts and sent off for grading and authentication. And once verified, they command astonishing value due to their rarity and the sheer impossibility of their creation. Among the known examples, one silver 1965 Washington quarter stood out above the rest. Its pristine condition and verified silver composition captured the attention of collectors across the nation. When it finally hit the auction block, bidders didn't hold back. What began as a simple 25-cent coin ended in a historic moment. That coin was sold at public auction for an all-time record of $12,650, a powerful reminder that sometimes the most ordinary-looking objects can carry extraordinary worth. In 1988, the U.S. Mint continued its production of the Washington quarter dollar, a coin that had become a familiar part of American pockets and change drawers since its debut in 1932. That year, the Denver Mint, marked with a D mint mark, produced millions of these quarters, meant to serve everyday transactions across the country. To most, the 1988 D Washington quarter was nothing special, just another coin in the mix. But as collectors and experts would later discover, not all of these coins were created equal. During the minting process, errors can occur, unexpected flaws that, when preserved, can turn an ordinary coin into a rare collectible. That's what makes the 1988 D Washington quarter so fascinating. While millions were struck perfectly, a select few slipped through with anomalies, errors that went unnoticed at the time but would become key to their rising value decades later. Among these errors, one stands out: an off-center strike, where the coin's image is noticeably misaligned due to the blank not being properly centered in the press. Others have been found with die cracks, double dies, or missing elements in their design. Each error tells a small part of a larger story, one about mechanical failures, rushed production, and the human element behind the machine-made process. For a collector, finding such a piece is like uncovering a hidden chapter of U.S. Mint history. What adds more intrigue to the 1988 D quarter is its role during a time when coin collecting was beginning to gain wider interest again. More Americans were taking note of mint marks, flaws, and subtle differences in their coins. This led to a growing awareness of the kinds of errors that make coins valuable. As a result, once overlooked coins like the 1988 D quarter began receiving a second look, especially from collectors who understood how rare certain minting errors could be. One such quarter made its way into the hands of a coin enthusiast, who immediately noticed something off. The details were sharp, but the alignment was skewed. Experts were brought in to examine the coin, and it was eventually authenticated and graded as a highly rare mint error, something almost impossible to find in such well-preserved condition. It stood out not just for its rarity but for how well it had survived the decades. Collectors flocked to it when it came up for auction. With interest from all over the country, bidding grew intense, reflecting just how significant even a small error can be when preserved in a coin from a high mintage year. That single quarter, struck in 1988 at the Denver Mint, ended up selling for a remarkable all-time auction price of $4,362.50, a stunning value for a coin most people might have unknowingly spent on a soda. The 1981 D Washington quarter dollar, struck at the Denver Mint, holds a quiet place in American numismatic history. At first glance, it appears to be just another piece of pocket change, part of the countless quarters minted that year for everyday commerce. Its obverse bears the familiar profile of George Washington, while the reverse displays the heraldic eagle, a design used for decades. But as is often the case in coin collecting, the value of a coin lies in its story, its errors, and its condition. And for the 1981 D quarter, that story becomes unexpectedly captivating. During the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was producing hundreds of millions of quarters annually. The Denver Mint alone struck over 575 million quarters in 1981. With such high volume, small minting anomalies were inevitable. These minor flaws, often overlooked at the time, would become the very details that coin collectors hunt for today. Certain 1981 D quarters exhibited off-center strikes, weakly struck design elements, and even double dies, all signs of rushed or imprecise minting. While most of these were dismissed as insignificant errors by the public, to a trained collector's eye, they represented hidden treasure. One example of the 1981 D quarter's potential emerged when a nearly flawless specimen surfaced in a collection. This particular coin exhibited a rare combination of sharp detail, perfect strike, and untouched surfaces, placing it in the top tier of condition among surviving examples. Experts graded it MS-68, a level of mint state nearly impossible to find for circulated quarters of that era. Combined with its brilliant luster and precise edge reading, this coin stood out as something special. As collectors know, condition is everything. In a coin that was never expected to be valuable, preservation over decades can result in dramatic auction interest. When this 1981 D Washington quarter was listed for sale, the buzz among numismatists grew quickly. It was a chance to own a piece of minting history, a coin not altered by wear or handling, defying the odds of time and circulation. The bidding began modestly but quickly escalated as serious collectors and investors recognized its rarity. In a world where modern coins are often disregarded, this was a shining exception. It eventually sold to a determined bidder who understood its value not just as currency, but as a preserved piece of American production and artistry. The final gavel fell, and the coin achieved a remarkable price. The all-time auction record for this 1981 D Washington quarter dollar reached an impressive $4,242.50, a stunning number for a coin many might have unknowingly spent on a cup of coffee. The 1992 D Washington quarter dollar, minted in Denver, might look like an ordinary coin to most, but its story holds remarkable twists for collectors who know where to look. With its standard copper-nickel composition and the iconic image of George Washington on the obverse, the coin was struck by the millions, over 389 million, to be exact. However, hidden among those common coins are a few that have captured the attention of numismatists due to their pristine condition or unique minting anomalies. For a coin intended for everyday use, jingling in pockets, jammed in vending machines, or forgotten in glove compartments, survival in top condition is a rare feat. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for errors and high-grade examples, and the 1992 D quarter doesn't disappoint. A few have surfaced with slight striking errors, such as weakly struck areas or subtle doubling, especially around the "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" inscriptions. These flaws, minor as they may seem, turn a pocket change coin into a curiosity worth inspecting under a magnifying lens. The design on the reverse, the familiar heraldic eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, looks identical to most other quarters at first glance. But the tiniest shift in minting alignment or die deterioration adds a layer of intrigue for the coin-savvy. Condition, however, remains the true deciding factor when determining value. Coins graded MS-67 or higher are particularly rare. While most 1992 D quarters went straight into circulation, a few were carefully preserved by collectors in coin rolls or mint sets, never touched by human hands, nor dulled by decades of wear. These examples stand out with sharp details, full mint luster, and clean fields free from scratches or contact marks. Achieving such a grade from PCGS or NGC is no small feat, and it's those coins that fetch premium prices on the open market. When one of these high-grade examples made its way into a professional auction, it generated unexpected excitement. Though the average person might walk past a 1992 D quarter on the street without a second thought, collectors knew this particular specimen was in a league of its own. Perfectly struck and preserved with nearly flawless surfaces, the coin stood as a time capsule from the early 1990s, when such quality slipped through the cracks of mass production. As the auction opened, interest poured in from seasoned collectors and investors who recognized its rarity. Bidding steadily climbed, pushing past initial estimates. When the final bid was cast and the gavel fell, the price confirmed what collectors had suspected all along, that even a seemingly ordinary coin, when preserved in exceptional condition, could command extraordinary value. The all-time auction record for a 1992 D Washington quarter dollar reached an astonishing $1,763, a testament to how the rarest qualities can emerge from the most unexpected places. The 1996 P Washington quarter dollar, minted in Philadelphia, might seem like just another quarter in your pocket, but for dedicated collectors, it holds more than face value. This coin was struck to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the Washington Quarter series running under the modern copper-nickel clad design introduced in 1965. With over 925 million pieces minted at the Philadelphia Mint alone in 1996, it would appear to be a common coin, and for the most part, it is. But within such a large mintage lies a small number of examples that stand far above the rest, catching the eye of numismatists and collectors alike. The obverse of the coin carries the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with sharp contours and inscriptions that should be crisp when struck properly. The reverse displays the heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows above two olive branches, a symbol of both strength and peace. But what turns a 25-cent piece into something worthy of auctions and coin showcases is often the presence of immaculate strike quality, perfect surfaces, and sometimes even unique die errors. In the case of the 1996 P quarter, it's not just the quantity that defines its rarity, but the quality. Finding a coin in mint state 67 or higher is no easy task. Most circulated quarters from this year are scratched, worn, and dull, having passed through countless hands and cash registers. But on rare occasions, a collector may have pulled a coin from a mint set or directly from a bank roll and kept it untouched for decades. These preserved examples, with strong luster, no contact marks, and precise detail, are what auction houses crave. Beyond condition, a few subtle anomalies have sparked intrigue. Some 1996 P quarters exhibit die cracks or slight misalignments, which aren't necessarily dramatic but still add an edge of uniqueness. Yet, it is the pristine coins, the near-perfect ones, that have brought the highest bids. When a coin appears at auction with exceptional grading, particularly from respected services like PCGS or NGC, the bidding can heat up quickly. In 2019, one such coin made headlines in the collecting community. A 1996 P Washington quarter, graded MS68 by PCGS, appeared at a major auction. Bidders immediately recognized its rarity, not because of a glaring error, but because of how flawless it was despite being from a mass-produced year. The surfaces were gleaming, the details crisp, and the eye appeal undeniable. As the hammer finally dropped, the price reflected just how sought-after such condition rarity could be. The all-time auction record for the 1996 P Washington quarter dollar reached an impressive $1,495, a striking result for a coin many wouldn't glance at twice. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary-looking coin, if perfectly preserved, can carry an extraordinary story and an even more surprising price tag. The 1996 D Washington quarter dollar, struck at the Denver Mint, is a modern coin that often slips through the hands of Americans unnoticed. Its obverse features the iconic profile of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of Washington's birth. By 1996, the design had become a familiar emblem of American pocket change, carrying the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date, alongside a subtle D mint mark near Washington's ponytail indicating its Denver origin. The reverse of this coin maintains the traditional eagle design, wings spread wide, perched confidently on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below, a symbol of American readiness and peace. Though over 906 million of these coins were minted in Denver in 1996, the vast majority were released into circulation, destined for everyday commerce where they'd accumulate nicks, wear, and blemishes. However, hidden among this massive production are a few exceptional examples, coins that never saw a cash register or a vending machine. These high-grade coins survived in pristine condition, often because they were carefully stored away by collectors or preserved in government-issued mint sets. For most people, a 1996 D quarter is just 25 cents, indistinguishable from others. But for numismatists, the difference lies in the details. A coin with razor-sharp strike, rich luster, and untouched surfaces can stand out dramatically. Collectors look for features like full detail in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, a strong, centered strike, and an absence of contact marks. Grading services like PCGS and NGC rarely award grades of MS68 or higher to this issue, making those few that qualify highly sought after. There have been reports of minor die varieties and errors within the 1996 D series, including slight doubling in weakly struck areas, but it's the combination of condition and rarity in top grades that fuels competition in the auction market. While the typical coin from this year remains in pocket change, those few certified examples that achieve near-perfect mint state grades become numismatic treasures. Collectors who understand the importance of condition in modern coins know that a high-grade 1996 D quarter is not easy to come by. Most were struck for utility, not perfection, and handled accordingly. But a pristine coin, brilliant and flawless, breaks the mold. It challenges expectations and reminds collectors that even coins from recent decades can hold tremendous value if preserved perfectly. This reality was confirmed at auction when a 1996 D Washington quarter graded MS68 by PCGS shattered expectations. The coin's brilliant surfaces and strong strike set it apart from the millions of its kind, drawing multiple bidders eager to add it to their high-end registry sets. After intense bidding, the hammer finally fell, and the coin realized an all-time auction record of $633, a powerful example of how quality and rarity can elevate even the most common date into a true collector's prize.